Hello everyone and welcome to this Goron Mines RTA run. I was pretty happy with this run, and so I'll probably keep it for a while, although it's far from perfect. This is my favorite category in the game out of all of the ones that I've run, just because of how short and exciting it is. Anyway, the run starts out just like any other. You get this rock and you clip through the gate so that you can do back in time. And one of the things that I like about this run is that even the first split is different from normal. Although we won't be seeing that difference until after goats, where the biggest difference is I just don't go and collect the iron boots this split. I always buffer twice for back in time. I don't know why, I've just found it more consistent. And so I got a fairly quick back in time there, although it's not optimal compared to good standards. I save warp as fast as possible. This gives me a few things. This gives me the Hero's Tunic, Hylian Shield, and Orden Sword equipped, and it tames Epona. And now we reload. And I go through saving tallow as normal. I head over here. I've been trying to work on this part in particular to improve my rolls, because I noticed that I lose a significant amount of time to rolls on this part of the run. I get the lantern, and this will be used twice in the run, I think. No, not even that. Only once. Only in this cave. But it will be used. It's very hard to avoid using it. Now, one of the rooms in particular that I struggle with rolling in is this room, because I think it's because there's just a bit of lag that makes the timing off, but my rolls in this run were actually really good through here. I say that and just missed 5-6 frame perfect rolls in a row, so they weren't perfect, but they felt pretty good. I get a small key. I got good RNG from the Bokoblin there, meaning I wouldn't get hit. I've seen some people just hit the Bokoblin, but with good RNG, there's no reason to do that. Now, looking at my timer, this is far from an optimal pace up to this point. The fastest I've ever gotten up to the cage break is a 4:03. Now, the fastest most people have gotten is like 3:57. So, hence the fact that I'm worried about losing time to rolls, because there's no obvious other differences. Now, I try to get a jump slash here going into this cutscene, which it's not hard, but it gives you just a little boost, so you can get up there as quickly as possible. And I kill the Bokoblins and save tallow, and that's that. You'll see there that was a high 404 or a low 405 cage break, which again, it's not very optimal, but it's actually pretty good for me. If I get a 404, I know that I'm on a pretty good pace. I mash through these text boxes, which sometimes ends up being a good indication of whether my mashing is good or not in any specific day, because it seems to vary wildly from day to day. Now we've got goats. Goats are pretty fun, just, you know, herd them as fast as possible. And they went pretty well in this run as well. So Yeah. Looking at these goats now, there are several points in which I was probably just worried, but ending up with a 20.22 is not bad at all. And my mind is probably saying, well, with a 404 and a 19 goats, I would have lost 2 seconds. And I don't know exactly what my gold got, but it probably wasn't even as good as that, so I'm thinking this might have potential to get really close to my gold. Probably not pass it, but possibly? I talked to Colin, because there's no way to avoid that. And head over to the crawl space to end this segment. And already, like I said before, you've seen a difference in this run than most runs in this game, because in most runs you'd get the iron boots here, but due to a trick that I'll be doing later, I need to not get the iron boots now. So I saved 1.3 seconds on my PB, and my PB already was really good on that segment, so I'm pretty happy with that. Now, on this segment, there are 6 separate things that they're sort of like a wish list. If you can get them, then you save a bit of time for each one. I missed the first one, which is breaking this box in the corner during the cutscene, but that only saves like 3 frames, so it's the least important. Oh, I got a dash cancel into that cutscene, which was interesting to me because that requires 2 inputs, and I thought you could only do 1. I go over here and I aim for the middle to drop down there for this ghost cutscene, because it makes it so I run out of dash right at this side, so that I can do a short hop and then make the best use out of that. Now, here's just the mandatory stuff of pulling the tabs to raise and lower the water. It's unfortunate that there isn't a way to skip it, and there probably will never be a way to skip it, unless we find a way to have Uku at this point, Uku and the Master Sword. But I don't expect that'll come to the normal speedruns for quite a while. That's what they do in low percent, though. So, I mentioned 6 things on the wish list, and we've only had 1 so far. The second is the easiest, which is if I jump so that I skim the left side of that block, I skip them in the text box. And the third is jumping up quickly here, which I missed. 3 of them are just 1-frame jumps. You press A on the first frame possible, and you jump up with Midna. And the other 2 are both Midna tech skips, and then there's box break, of course. The Midna tech skips save a lot more than the first frame jumps, especially the one that will happen right after I leave this tower. But you wish for all of them as well. So I missed the second first frame jump there, unfortunately. But I got this Midna tech skip. That's the biggest time save that you can get here. It saves like 3 seconds. This particular segment is one of the more consistent ones, so you rarely actually lose time here. So you've got to spice it up by going for these cool strats that might save a little bit of time. Now, in this run I missed all 3 of the first frame Midna jumps, but I got the Midna tech skips, so it was all really good. I did get knocked down there by the Cargaroks, which is a bummer, but I think I still saved time. Let's see. I tend to split at really weird times. Oh, no, I lost time. I tend to split at really weird times compared to every other person. I've seen people split at the fade out when you're going to meet Zelda there. I've seen people split earlier or later than I do, but roughly at the same time. It's just all over the place. Now, this Sword and Shield skip was really good. If it weren't for this Hugo positioning, it would have been like 3 seconds faster, and it would have been very close to my gold, which is already a very good Sword and Shield skip time. I think that's the fastest I've ever gotten, is a 112. Anyway, I lure Hugo across the bridge, and I set up the trick. This trick is not easy for beginners, and it's kind of annoying, but I've been running this game for a very long time. I've been running it since 2013, and so I've got a lot of experience doing that trick, and Hugo just gave me perfect RNG there. It was very beautiful. So now we're in Fair and Twilight. Fair and Twilight in this run is different from every other run, because we do not enter the Forest Temple in this run. Normally, we need to enter the Forest Temple, so we do Fair and Twilight in such a way that entering the Forest Temple will be as fast as possible. But because we don't enter the Forest Temple, we do it a different way, because it ends up being a lot faster. But first I need to do this fight to get the Midna charge ability, and also, well, because although I think there might be a way to skip this portal, it's like TAS only, and not recommended for anything. This is a really good run so far. My PB was really good already, and the fact that I'm already ahead by 13 seconds is crazy. I got a 1-frame trick there by pressing D-pad right and A at the same time when talking to the spirit, and that skips 2 text boxes and saves a little bit of time. I kill those 2 bugs, and those are the only 2 tiers I will not collect on this pass through Fair and Twilight. Usually you leave a bunch just on a trail to the Forest Temple, but like I said, we're not entering the Forest Temple, so there's no point in doing that. Enter Koro's Hut. I will do a cutscene skip on getting these bugs by just unsensing. It's very simple, and then I just do a couple of jump attacks to get those tiers, and though that wasn't a perfect Koro's Hut, it was pretty good. Jump off and get this tier. I think it's faster what I did there, to kill the bug and then go and get the Koro's Hut bugs and then come back. But I've never actually seemed it timed, so I don't know how lenient or precise it is. I have to kill these 2 bugs and get these 2 tiers. Unfortunately, they weren't in a very good position this run. Sometimes you get them both together and at the bottom part, where it's really easy. But it still ended up pretty fast this run. Those two bugs always feel awkward to actually collect the tears, because I kill them in such a way that's optimized for you land in a spot where you can just call Minda and jump. But it's not hard to remember to get the tears when you already got all the elements so far. And then pretty much everything but 90%, you get those ones, so it's also not too hard to forget. I had been grinding this category for a couple of days, just doing offline attempts over and over again before I got this run, so there wasn't really anything that I was worried about forgetting. These bugs are the interesting ones because it turns out voiding out puts them above ground, puts them before their mating state, and so you can just go and kill them like that, where normally you'd have to dig them up. And again, that's something I haven't seen timed, but we're pretty sure it's faster. Now this room, a lot of people who run Goron Mines RTA don't like this room in Goron Mines RTA because we have to do early Master Sword twice. And as you see, I failed it there, which is pretty sad. Every time you fail this trick, it loses like 20 seconds. I go for a quick just right here where I just go where Jamal was, Jamal being the Shadow Beast, to get a quick boost up. I get a bonk there, which is whatever. I just need to head up and get these two bugs up here, and then head back to do the actual early Master Sword where I go to the Grove. Those bugs were in a really good spot when I killed them, because sometimes they're just like both really close to the walls and just not good. I go for the fast stride again here, just going to where Jamal was, and I think it worked. So in total I got one fast swing and then failed the EMS once, although the failed EMS looked like it might have been a fast swing, so I'm not sure. And then I got it the last two tries. The Grove itself is nothing special. It's just the normal Skull Kid chase and fight. One thing I'd like to mention in this category is it's really nice that we don't have to collect any rupees. We don't need to buy anything before the end of Goron Mines. In a lot of other categories, you might be worried at least a little bit about collecting rupees during this segment. Like Goron Mines RTA's sister category, All Fused Shadows, which just goes and completes the Forest Temple and Lake Bed as well. It has to buy the bomb bag after Goron Mines, so you need 20 rupees as well as 100 rupee that you get later in order to have enough to buy that bomb bag. And in any percent and other runs like that, you need 40 rupees before you get to Arbiter's Grounds or Snow Peak, just so that you have enough to enter City in the Sky. But we don't have to worry about any of that in this category. Makes it really nice. Now, I hit Skull Kid right here in a way that will make me land on the ground. This is just optimal stuff. Sometimes you can hit Skull Kid and land on the ledge. like hanging off the ledge, and that's a bit slower than just landing on the ground. So we're fortunate that there's a pretty consistent way to do that. Now even the Skull Kid fight, it's just 3 hits, hitting 1 puppet, preferably between each fight, between each hit, and very rarely does something go wrong here. There we go, Skull Kid's down. And looking at my timer, I am going to lose time here. But I'm not entirely sure how much. It takes exactly 1 minute from the start of this Howling Stone to get the Master Sword. So it's going to be a 10:39 segment. I'll be losing 17 seconds to my PB, and that means I'll be 4 seconds behind. But no big deal. Like I said earlier, my old PB, this 1 hour and 18-minute run, was really good up to Elden Vessel. My Elden Vessel split was actually a minute ahead of the world record, and then it just botched everything on Elden Twilight. So to be only 4 seconds behind this run, I was actually freaking out a little. Now I do a little bit of swag here. I press Sense on, I think it's 2 frames. I think there's a 2-frame window on every jump. And I don't get them all, but it's a cool little strat to go for. And I head up to the Master Sword and I'll get it and trigger the Master Sword cutscene. Now, I don't know the complete history of this category, because I didn't run it until probably 2015. Actually, probably, I can't remember, but there was an old route where, you see, getting the Master Sword early causes problems with Goron Mines. There's an invisible wall that prevents you from entering Goron Mines normally if you get the Master Sword, because it just messes up some states. So, the old strat was to go more or less glitchlessly up to Goron Mines and just complete it with the Orden Sword. But then a trick known as text displacement was found, which we'll be seeing in the Iron Boots split. And I'll explain when I get to it. This cutscene is an unfortunate 2-minute long, unskippable cutscene. And all we have to do is mash text, and it's pretty boring, but it's a necessary evil. After this, the run gets... well, we do something interesting here. I don't know that the run gets interesting until after Elden Twilight, because Elden Twilight is just more of the same. But I warp to South Faron here, and I finish the Twilight as soon as possible. Now, this comes to the question of, why did I need to finish the Twilight at all in the first place? Like, our goal is to get to Goron Mines. Why does finishing Faron Twilight have anything to do with that? And that's because of a trick I'm about to do known as Bite. Back in Time equipped. And this is just another application of Back in Time, where if you load a file from Back in Time, it will sometimes spawn you in somewhere else. most of the time it's used to spawn into the King Bull in one fight, which is what I'm doing here. But it can be used for slightly different purposes. Like, I think you can just get to Elden Field on one of them. And in theory, I think there's a way to warp to the credits if you can somehow get it to work in the room before Goron Mines. But anyway, I save warp here to make this file, which can be used for back in time equipped. This is the earliest... This isn't the earliest file that could work. Like, if I saved in Orden, that would work as well. But this is really convenient because it's also a really good place to get back in time itself. There's a very consistent setup on the bridge. So I get back in time, I jump off, I press A while I'm falling to load the load screen, and then selecting the file spawns me into King Bulblin 1. Now, King Bulblin 1 fight is one of 2 bad RNG spots in the run. My PB had an amazing King Bulblin, and this run wasn't quite so fortunate, but it was still pretty good. That fight lost about 6 seconds to my PB's fight. Now, I'll be going for a 1 cycle here on the bridge by just turning around here and from this spot hitting King Bulblin twice. Really quick. And now it's going to warp us to Kakariko, because that's normally where this cutscene puts you. But it's not going to be in the right state, because it's kind of this weird state where it's not supposed to be Twilight, but it is Twilight. You see Epona's there. Epona literally can't exist in Twilight. So the state's all messed up. And so I need to reload the room just to make it the proper Twilight again. I have to kill these shadow beasts because otherwise, like, doors don't exist. It's really weird. And this will let me get Elder Vessel to start the Twilight itself. Now, there's nothing overly special about Elden Twilight in this run, in Goron Mines RTA in particular. I accept that if you do Bomb House Skip, you're required to do it as a wolf. Now, Wolf Bomb House Skip is the entire reason why my PB lost 52 seconds here, because it fell down. So, I'm thinking, holy cow, I'm 11 seconds behind this run. If I get Wolf Bomb House Skip, this is going to be incredible. If I get Wolf Bomb House Skip, I knew that I was just going to be so nervous, because this run was so good. So we kill that bug, we jump into the well after it explodes. This is because we have to wait for the tier. It's like 3 seconds between killing the bug and the tier being collectible. I got all 3 bugs there in 1 charge attack, which is very good. It's very ideal, and it doesn't always happen, although there are pretty consistent ways to do it. I get that tier and I head over to Malamart. Now, the Malamart bug is, as usual, very good. You just bonk into the wall and target it, and it will come straight down to you. I do a nice C up there to zoom in on Link's butt. Very important. Now up to the hotel. Or the inn, I suppose it's actually called. The Eld Inn. which is a pun I did not appreciate until I started speedrunning this game. I don't know, my 8-year-old mind just didn't register what it was trying to say. I make quick work of those 2 bugs, and just have to collect the tears and head out of there. Which, that bug went a lot smoother than normal. I do some quick ledge hops to get up quickly, and we're out of there. This is a pretty clean Elven Twilight so far. My gold here is a 656, and though that's not perfect, I think that's the best I've ever done Elven Twilight in any category. And the best anyone has ever done Elven Twilight is 643. So if I can get close to that gold, I'm pretty happy. If I can get sub 7 on this segment, I'm pretty happy with it. Now I enter Barns, and there's a bug in here. Sometimes the bug lands on this ledge right here, and I don't know why. It's very annoying though, and I wish it didn't happen. So now we have Wolf Bombhouse Skip, which is a trick that makes me nervous every time. Now, I tried something slightly different this run, and just took it a little slower, and I think that's the entire reason why I made the trick, just because I didn't have any extra speed from the side hops. But it's a very precise trick. If you go too far left, you'll trigger the bug. It'll go towards the house and you won't be able to get it. And if you go too far right, then you're just going to fall, which is what happened in my PB. But that trick saves about 30 seconds. And doing it as a wolf is about 2 or 3 seconds faster than doing it as a human, if you can do it as a human. But the human method is so much safer that I always go for it. Now this bug needs to get out of this little corner before I can kill it, so I just target it and hope that it'll come out. I don't know if there are better manipulation strategies than I do. There are only 2 bugs like that. That one and the one in Castletown, where they need to go somewhere before you can actually attack them. And it's very annoying. But yeah, at this point, because I got Wolf Bombhouse Skip, my heart's racing. Because I know that this is a run that I'm probably not going to get. Sure, I lost a bunch of time to EMS and King Woblin 1, but this run is really good. Just 2 bugs left, as well as a Shadow Beast fight. And this time, these last 2 were pointed the right direction at the start, so they came toward me and it was very quicker than normal. They are definitely not always that nice. I jump on this ledge and make a quick look at this bug. And now I have to wait for the steam. Sometimes the steam is just done there. I wonder when the steam starts going. I imagine it's when the area is loaded, but it just... I don't know. I missed a quick strat there that would make it so when I collect the tier, the Twilight ends instantly. Instead I had to wait for a few seconds. But would you look at that? I got sub 7 Twilight. That was a 657 Twilight, which is just 1 second off of my gold, and I'm freaking out. 40 seconds ahead of my PB. This is crazy. So now we're coming to the part of the run that I think is a little less appealing than the old route before text displacement, because you've got to go and take this detour to go to Orden Village, and you've got to do it twice. It's very awkward and very slow seeming, but we don't have a faster way to do this. Now, the trick called text displacement is coming up soon, and for now, I'll just say I'm going to go to Bo's house and I'm going to talk to him 6 times. I'll explain the significance of that a little later. Although, I will say, I was actually the person who found that talking him to 6 times was fastest. Well, it's actually 4 to 6 times. I found it by accident by not stopping talking to him one run. We used to think that 2 to 3 times was optimal, but no, it's 4 to 6. And I'll explain why in a little bit. So, it's just mashing through text, trying to go backwards a little to get closer to the door, because I'm not going to be sumo wrestling right now. I advance 6 text boxes, and I leave. Now I need to go to Goron Mines, because with the text displacement glitch active, I need to just go and take care of it as soon as possible, because pretty much any cutscene that has text will break it. And save warping will also break it. And it's very annoying. Although, I mean, this run, it's pretty obvious. We're trying to get in Goron Mines as fast as possible. It's obvious that I'm going to do that. I have to wait for the meteor to fall, so I do a little swag by getting on top of the Goron as a wolf. Just did that one run and liked it, so I kept doing it. This meteor isn't useful for us in this run, but we have to get it. There's no way to avoid it. Going up as a wolf here was found to be 5 seconds faster by Skyriad than going up as a human. I imagine if you get the bad steam cycle, though, it's not that much faster. Anyway. Now, I'll just be focusing on rolling optimally here. There are 2 Gorons up here that I'll be hit by. And the idea is to just not get hit too badly. Not to get hit downwards, but rather just into the wall. I use this Goron to jump onto the ledge on the side. This skips using one of the Gorons. And it's just a lot more... It's a bit quicker. I get these 2 hearts just for safety, because we won't be seeing any more hearts, I think, in the run. I think those will be the last hearts I collect. I talked to Goron here, and he gives me that text. That is not normally the text he gives you when you get the Master Sword. He normally goes on to this whole spiel, and you say, you know, it causes an invisible wall, and it's very bad. I warp here in the corner, but I'm going to explain what just happened. So, remember when I talked to Bo 6 times? The game has a flag to keep track of how far through the conversation you are in conversations that require a cutscene. So, like, Bo's conversation normally happens in a cutscene. Same with Goron. And this flag that tracks how far you are in the cutscene is shared across all of these cutscene conversations. So, when I talk to Bo 6 times, the flag was set for being that far into the conversation. And then when I go and talk to Goron, it'll look at that flag and give me a text box that's a lot further in the conversation than it normally would. And that allows me to get to the point in that conversation where Goron Mines is officially opened. Which skips the entire sumo section, but because of states, because of early Master Sword, I wouldn't be able to do the sumo at all. Which means I wouldn't even be able to open that. But now I have to go back to Bo, because I need iron boots to beat Goron Mines. And so the text displacement stuff was just like a 2-minute detour, and now we're actually going and getting the iron boots. One neat side effect, and the main reason why talking to Bo 6 times as fastest, is Bo just resumes the conversation. He starts from the beginning if you talk to him 2 to 3 times, but the trick still works. But if you talk to him 6 times, he just resumes the conversation. He goes straight to the 7th sex box, and you start the fight really quickly. Now, I got a very nice first phase, and I'm telling Bo right now, I'm literally saying out loud, please do not give me a perfect fight. I will be so nervous. And as you'll see, Bo gave me a far from perfect fight, and that relieved my nerves a bit. Although, now that I think of it, if this fight had been good, then this probably would have been record. I'm not entirely sure how much time I lost here, but it was not insignificant. So now we're done with Bo. Pretty bad fight. Probably lost like 20 seconds there at least. And my best possible time is now above 59 minutes. Which I was a bit disappointed at, because 58 would be a really good time for this category, at least on GameCube. It would be faster on Wii, of course, because they have a glitch in Goron Mines that saves a bunch of time. But this run, unfortunately, was not able to get the 58. In my PB, I messed up the glitch I'm about to do, which is early elevator. And I messed it up in the dumbest way possible. I got the clip first try, and then I just kind of went too far right and clipped to the other side of this wall. But this went really well in this run. Getting up on the ledge immediately and having it work is something that never happens. Now, we do have to do something that's a little scary here, and doing that jump as a wolf. It's actually very precise, your angle, to make it work, but I got it very fast, and this ended up being a gold, just because of how well the trick went. So now, we're getting into probably the toughest part of the run, which is Goron Mines. Goron Mines is very unforgiving. It's literally full of lava that deals 2 hearts of damage. If you fall, you lose a lot of time. And I'm just thinking, okay, if this Goron Mines is good, I'm getting world record by quite a bit. Because this run was pretty good, except for like the King Molded 1 fight and the Bo fight. This run was pretty good up to this point. We use an Iron Boots boost to get to that platform to skip the flame jet. Sometimes that boost is unpredictable and it'll just send you into the lava. There's a way to do it with a side hop, but that's even less. It's very inconsistent. I do a damage boost to get through that as well. And we're through the first round. Now, the thing that makes Goron Mines so hard in this category is I have 2 items. I have the lantern, which is useless, and I have the iron boots, which, well, you need the iron boots. Normally at this point, you've got the boomerang and maybe the claw shot, and those two make this dungeon a lot easier. But because I just have the iron boots, it's not an easy dungeon in any regard. Now, I come into this knowing that my gold for this segment is not perfect. My gold got second try keyshard skip, and it was also a little sloppy in other cases. So I know that this might still have a chance for 58, but I have to play this perfectly. So I get a good stone slab clip here. That trait can be very annoying. If you bonk, it's super slow. But I got it pretty quickly there. Press down and walk until I've stepped 10 times and enter the next room to get the first key shard. There are 3 key shards, each of them given to you by a different Goron Elder. I think the game only checks for the 3rd. It might check for the 1st and the 3rd. But anyway, the 2nd key shard is entirely unnecessary, and I'll be skipping it. I do a little hop there because it seems... It's either just a swag strat or it's actually just a little bit faster. I just like doing it. So now we're in the boring part, and this room is the reason why we save so much time over here. Because they have a glitch where they can unequip the iron boots on the way up to the ceiling, and it'll let them just walk around on the ceiling at full speed. And it's very unfair. They save like 2 minutes. It's crazy. Now, another thing is, it might actually be faster to pull out your sword and do combos. That might be a faster way to move. But you have to do them perfectly, and it's really hard to change angle with them. This section is really annoying. And quite boring as well. But, you know, it is what it is. It has to be done. I bonked on the door. Ripperoni. Now we're in this room. And I'll briefly talk about these switches. If you stand on the switch so that it sinks down a little, and then put your iron boots on, the cutscene activates immediately. If you instead, like, go onto the switch with iron boots on, like sometimes I'll side hop and equip the iron boots in midair, the cutscene waits for a second to activate. So, ideally, you would be doing that for everyone. So you'd be going onto the switch and equipping the iron boots after it sinks a little. It's a very small difference in time, though. I get a small key underwater, and this is a room... This is probably the only... No, there are a couple of rooms that are benefited by the claw shot, because there's a crystal switch that I need to hit. And you can hit this crystal switch with the claw shot, or with the bow, with whatever, really. But, unfortunately, I have to hit it with my sword. Which means going up here and doing a nice jump slash to get onto the platform. For some reason, when you unequip the iron boots off of the ceiling, it tends to turn you around. And then I line up a jump slash based on some black lines on the wall, just to get that quickly. And now this is a room that's helped by the boomerang, because there's a way to skip cutting down this bridge that I'm about to cut down by just LJAing through it. But because I don't have the boomerang, I have to cut down the bridge, which feels very slow. I drop down as quickly as possible, and I enter this outside room. Now, this go-through of the room is the same in every category. You just go up, you get the small key, and you go to the next door. The next time I'll be going through it, though, is different depending on if you have the boomerang or the claw shot. Or not, as the case might be. There are 3 different skips. Or there are 2 different skips, and then there's the normal way. But this room is very exciting, because there is a skip that is used in Bug Limit, Wii, and this category, where you jump and you fall down. This was so infuriating. This cost me the record by falling down there, because I just held up a little bit too late. But ideally, what you're trying to do with this is you're trying to grab onto the ledge up there. It's a very precise trick. It's angle sensitive, where you can actually do it, so I have a consistent lineup, but I chose not to do it this run, just for the sake of time. And I ended up getting it 4th try, but I fell down, and I knew the record was over at that point. But I could still get sub 1 by a pretty decent margin. I do a jump slash to get onto the platform as soon as possible, and I enter Dengoro. So that skipped the 2nd key shard, and it saves about 40 seconds optimally. Now, the Dengoro Fight, I'll be using a strat that was found by Simikins to kill Dengoro in 2 cycles. You do 3 jump slashes, backflip 3 times, put the iron boost through the 3rd backflip, get knocked down twice, and get knocked back twice by Dengoro, and that'll cause you to be on the ledge here. And for some reason, that just kind of causes Dengoro to get hit twice. And though that wasn't a perfect fight, it was pretty good. Now, after Dengoro, I get the bow, and then it's just a rush to the end of the dungeon. I need to get the boss key, and I need to get to the end of the dungeon itself. Now, I keep having this feeling that my last split is easily goldable. Like, I've got a 6-minute flat time for my gold, and I feel like that can be improved, but I haven't even been able to get close to it. So maybe it's actually really good. And as we can see, I'm losing a lot of time here. I lost 32.7 seconds. And if you look at my final time, if I had tied my gold there, it would have been a 59.08, which is just, it's super annoying that I would have gotten the record by that much if I just hadn't failed key shard skip. So I activate and I kill this Beamos so that I can get behind it, which is the boss key room. And then I'll be heading back to get to the boss. I bonked there, unfortunately. That was a little weird, because normally you can fit through that gap with no problems, but it was like slowing me down for some reason. Super weird. I do some LJAs off of Dengoro, because why not? And if you have the boomerang, it's possible to do an LJA to save a little bit of time in this room. But most of the time I just fail it, so what I'm about to do is probably faster than going for the LJA and failing it. Yeah. It's a very annoying LJA. Like I mentioned before, this outside room on the second trip is different with every category. I have to kill 4 of these boblins. That skips a cutscene. I somehow hit the BMOS in such a way that it killed it when it wasn't even facing toward me. I don't know how that happened. Normally the BMOS has to be facing towards you to kill it at all, but it was facing the other way, and that's super weird. But normally you can skip this sequence, and it would save like 30 seconds, but as far as I know, there's no way to do that if you only have the iron boots. I'll be doing another jump slash to get onto the platform here. And now the dungeon part is almost over, and we're almost to the final boss. Now, this boss, it's Virus. It's a really simple boss. It's kind of anticlimactic, because all you have to do is shoot him 3 times and knock him down and do a roll stab each cycle. A cycle is just shoot him, pull on his chain to knock him down, and roll stab him. There's not a lot interesting to talk about in this fight, although I do a strat where I roll stab him through his left armpit, and it just works. I imagine it's faster, but I don't actually know. The damage done to Virus is actually based on cycles. You could not hurt him at all in the first 2 cycles and still get a 3 cycle. You just have to wait for him to be knocked to get back up. It's a very weird fight. Here I am, knocking down the final time. Normally, if you have ending blow, you'll do ending blow here, just jump over Virus entirely, but because I don't, I have to go around. Although, it's kind of funny to see people get to this point and not realize they don't have ending blow, and so they go to Virus's butt, and they just do a jump slash, or they do a jump attack, and just have this slope of failure as they realize what just happened. Anyway, all the rest of this is just a cutscene, and I ended with the final time of 59:40, which the world record right now is 59:35. This was 5 seconds off of world record, and if Bo had been good, or if I hadn't failed key shard skip as badly as I did, this would have been world record, and this was a very solid run except for those 2 things. So that's why I'm happy with this run, and I probably won't be grinding this for world record anytime soon, even though I know I could do it. The top 3 are currently within 5 seconds right now, which is very exciting. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.